The Crusades and the Rise of the Mongol Empire. Introduction. The Crusades and the rise of the Mongol Empire were concurrent transformative events in medieval history, profoundly impacting Eurasia in the 12th and 13th centuries. While the Crusades focused on religiously motivated conflicts between Christian Europe and the Muslim world, the Mongol Empire emerged as a dominant geopolitical force, reshaping the balance of power across Asia and Europe. This essay explores the intersections between the Crusades and the rise of the Mongol Empire, analyzing their influence on each other and their shared impact on the medieval world. 1. Historical overlap of the Crusades and the Mongol Empire. Timeline and geographic context. The Crusades, 1096 to 1291, a series of religious wars initiated by Christian Europe to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control. The Mongol Empire, 1206 to 1368, founded by Genghis Khan. The Mongols created the largest contiguous land empire in history, stretching from China to Europe, intersecting regions of influence. The Middle East. Both the Crusaders and the Mongols interacted with the Islamic powers of the region, particularly the Seljuks, Ayyubids, and later the Mamluks. Eastern Europe. The Mongol conquests in Hungary and Poland alarmed Christian Europe, prompting considerations of alliances against common foes. 2. The Mongols' initial encounters with the Islamic world. The expansion of the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan's campaigns, 1206 to 1227, the Mongols began expanding westward, conquering Central Asia and threatening the Islamic heartlands. The destruction of Khwarezm, 1219 to 1221, the Mongols annihilated the Khwarezmian Empire, a key Islamic power, leaving the region vulnerable to further incursions. Impact on Crusader states. Destabilization of Muslim powers. The Mongols weakened several Islamic states that had previously opposed the Crusaders, inadvertently creating opportunities for Crusader resurgence. Mixed perceptions of the Mongols. While the Mongols were feared for their brutality, some Christian leaders saw them as potential allies against their Muslim adversaries. 3. The Crusaders and the Mongols. Attempts at alliance. Shared enemies in the Muslim world. Both the Crusaders and the Mongols faced the Islamic powers of the Middle East as adversaries. The Mamluks. The Mamluks of Egypt emerged as a common foe, defeating both Crusader forces and the Mongols at key battles such as Ain Jalut, 1260. Efforts to forge alliances. Papal missions to the Mongols. Popes and Christian monarchs sent envoys to the Mongol courts, including John of Plano-Carpini and William of Rubruck, seeking alliances against the Muslims. Mongol proposals. Mongol leaders, including Hulagu Khan and the Ilkhanate rulers, expressed interest in coordinating military efforts with the Crusaders, though these alliances often failed to materialize due to mutual mistrust and logistical challenges. Limited cooperation. Joint campaigns. In some instances, Crusaders and Mongols coordinated attacks, such as during the Mongol capture of Baghdad 1258 and their campaigns in Syria. Missed opportunities. Despite shared interests, cultural and religious differences, as well as the Mongols' brutal reputation, hindered closer collaboration. 4. The Mongols and the decline of the Crusader states. The Mamluk resistance. Battle of Ain Jalut, 1260. The Mamluks decisively defeated the Mongols, halting their advance into the Middle East and solidifying their dominance over the region. Mamluk expansion. The Mamluks focused on eliminating remaining Crusader strongholds, culminating in the fall of Acre, 1291, the last major Crusader city. Disruption of Crusader supply lines. Impact of Mongol conquests. The Mongols disrupted trade and communication routes between Europe and the Crusader states, making it harder for European powers to sustain their campaigns in the Holy Land. Shift in focus. European monarchs became preoccupied with Mongol invasions of Eastern Europe, diverting resources and attention away from the Crusades. 5. The Mongol Empire's role in the broader Eurasian context. Pax Mongolica and trade networks. Stabilization of trade routes. The Mongols established the Pax Mongolica, ensuring safe passage along the Silk Road and facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. Christian-Muslim relations. The Mongol presence altered the dynamics of Christian-Muslim relations, as Mongol-controlled regions became centers of cultural and religious interaction. Transmission of knowledge. Intellectual exchange. The Mongols facilitated the transfer of knowledge between the Islamic world, China, and Europe, influencing developments in science, medicine, and technology. Impact on crusading powers. The increased flow of information indirectly benefited European powers, laying the groundwork for the Renaissance and later maritime exploration. 6. Long-term consequences of the Mongol-Crusader interactions. Shifts in European priorities. Focus on Mongol threats. The Mongol invasions of Eastern Europe redirected attention away from the Crusades, as kingdoms like Hungary and Poland dealt with the immediate threat. Decline of the crusading ideal. The inability to secure lasting alliances with the Mongols, coupled with the failure to reclaim the Holy Land, contributed to waning enthusiasm for crusading efforts. Influence on religious perceptions. Mongols and Christianity. Some Mongol rulers, such as those of the Ilkhanate, adopted Christianity or expressed openness to it, raising hopes of a Mongol-Christian alliance that ultimately remained unrealized. Religious diversity. The Mongol Empire's tolerance for multiple religions offered a stark contrast to the exclusivity of the Crusades, influencing later European approaches to religious pluralism. Conclusion. The Crusades and the rise of the Mongol Empire were pivotal events that reshaped the medieval world, often intersecting in surprising ways. While the Mongols disrupted the Islamic powers opposing the Crusaders, their eventual conflicts with the Mamluks and invasions of Europe complicated the crusading movement. Both the Crusades and the Mongol conquests facilitated cultural exchange and the expansion of trade networks, leaving legacies that shaped the modern world. The interplay between these movements highlights the interconnectedness of medieval Eurasia and the complex dynamics of power, religion, and diplomacy that defined the era. 7. The influence of the Mongols on Western Christianity and the Crusader legacy. The Mongol Empire's influence on Western Christianity and the Crusader legacy was complex, as the Crusades were primarily driven by religious motivations, while the Mongols, though often seen as outside traditional Christian frameworks, had a lasting effect on both the Eastern and Western worlds. 1. Western perceptions of the Mongols. The Mongols as a new Christian hope. Initial optimism. In the early stages of the Mongol rise, some Christian leaders believed the Mongols might be a tool for achieving the crusading objectives. The idea of a Mongol-Christian alliance was appealing because it could potentially unite the Christian world against Islam, a common enemy during the Crusades. Papal missionary efforts. The Catholic Church sent emissaries to the Mongol court in an effort to forge alliances, notably under Popes Innocent IV and Gregory X. The Mongols, who ruled over large areas of the Islamic world, were seen as potential allies, with the possibility of converting them to Christianity. The Mongol threat to Eastern Europe. Invasions of Eastern Europe. As the Mongol Empire expanded into Eastern Europe, Christian kingdoms such as Hungary and Poland were directly threatened. The Mongol invasions of 1241 and subsequent raids deepened Christian Europe's sense of vulnerability. Focus on defense. The Mongol threat shifted attention away from the Crusades in the Holy Land, as Western European monarchs and military orders had to redirect resources to defend their borders against the Mongols. The Mongol legacy in Europe. Terror and devastation. Despite their initial consideration as allies, the Mongols' invasions were devastating. The sheer brutality of their military campaigns, including the sacking of cities and massacres, shaped Western perceptions of the Mongols as a destructive force, contributing to a deep-seated fear of their power. Shift in Christian identity. The Mongols' dominance over large parts of the Islamic world led to new dynamics in Christian-Muslim relations, and their interaction with the Crusader states in the Middle East indirectly influenced the evolution of Christian identity during this period. 8. The Crusades, the Mongols, and the end of the medieval world order. While the Crusades and the Mongol Empire were distinct historical phenomena, their interactions and parallel developments contributed to the transition from the medieval world to the early modern period. The eventual decline of both the Crusader states in the Holy Land and the Mongol Empire led to significant shifts in geopolitics and the Christian world's outlook. 1. The decline of the Crusader states. The fall of Acre and the end of Crusader presence in the Levant, 1291. Mamluk victory and Mongol collapse. The fall of Acre in 1291, the last Crusader stronghold in the Holy Land, marked the end of the Crusader states. The Crusader failure to maintain a foothold in the region, compounded by the Mamluk defeat of the Mongols in Syria, underscored the inability of Europe to exert lasting control over Jerusalem. End of the Crusader mission. The failure to reclaim Jerusalem, combined with the shifting focus towards defending against Mongol invasions, led to the slow disappearance of Crusader objectives in the Holy Land. The impact of the Mongols on the Christian world. Shift in focus. As the Crusades faded, the rising power of the Mongols in the 13th century became a new geopolitical challenge for Europe. The Mongols' vast empire led to a reorganization of trade routes, cultural exchange, and power dynamics. The Mongol invasions and the fragmentation of Europe. The Mongols' movement into Eastern Europe eventually forced Western powers to adapt their strategies. The fear of Mongol domination prompted stronger military and diplomatic alliances among Christian nations, marking a shift in European unity. 2. A changed world, from feudalism to the rise of early modern powers. Decline of feudalism. Mongol and Crusader influence on the feudal system. The Crusades and the Mongol conquests helped weaken the feudal order in Europe. The Crusades drained resources and manpower from Europe, which gradually led to the decline of feudalism. The Mongols' empire, on the other hand, forced Europeans to rethink traditional defense and military strategies, encouraging the development of centralized states. Formation of nation-states. Both the Crusades and the Mongol Empire were instrumental in the rise of centralized monarchies in Europe. Kings, rather than feudal lords, began to consolidate power, as they needed to organize responses to external threats and manage complex economies that emerged due to increased trade and wealth. The spread of knowledge and technological advancements. Cultural exchange via the Mongols. The Mongols acted as conduits for knowledge, promoting the exchange of scientific, artistic, and literary traditions between East and West. The exposure to new technologies, such as gunpowder and papermaking, indirectly contributed to the intellectual revolution that marked the beginning of the Renaissance.